Can't hear you. Nope. Nope. Uh,
Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you.
Okay. Anytime I always tell people that if you are in a rush trying to do something, you will always mess things up. And me trying to get back here, I wasn't going to do tea and conversation. And again, there are people who have been just pinging me this afternoon, asking me to go ahead and do the show because of all of the stuff that's going on in Highland. The election is over. So I guess I should start my introduction first. Welcome to Tea and Conversation with Trustee Adam Winston. I'm Adam Winston. I'm still an elected officials over here. I'm still going to be doing the work because that's what workers do. We do the work. And the election is over, so I don't have any great, fantastic news to share with you, although I did not lose. So I don't want anyone to think that just because I did not win that particular election, that I actually lost that election. I'm more concerned about our residents and them, and I don't feel like I lost. I did what I was supposed to do by running for office. But in any event, we got a few things that we need to take care of. Mr. Decker, it is always great to see you. Now it is you against the world, huh? You are going to now. I mean, after last election, and we're going to just jump right into it. What I realized is that the machine is on autopilot. It is on autopilot. And what I mean by that is that after the election last week, if you weren't a part of the establishment, they seem to win everything. What is your thoughts, Mr. Decker?
I didn't pay attention to many other races,
Okay.
but I did hear similar stories that those that are, connected to what is called the old guard or the machine.
That's it. The machine, they ground them up.
With the exception of the 5th District, the Democratic primary, from the time I was petitioning back in January, everybody said Ellsbury's old guard, he's the machine.
See, that's interesting because Mr. Decker, in this situation, Ellsbury wasn't the establishment. And this particular, now he should have been, right? Because here it is, and this is what makes this such a weird dynamics, which throws people off. Ellsbury, the mayor of Hazel Crest, is also a committeeman, right? So he's a committeeman. He is the mayor of Hazel Crest. He should have been the machine, but the machine this time threw all of their weight behind this one particular candidate that won.
You
could tell they threw all of their weight, and they were going to push that flat tire up the hill. They didn't give a damn. It was going to get up that hill, and all of the Southland areas rallied behind this individuals. And what I saw was, and for a lack of a better term, so if you're just joining, welcome to Tea and Conversation. We are in the show. So we got fireworks going on. We have a shooting in Highland. We have parades because I was in the parade earlier today, but right now we're just talking about a little bit of a recap of what happened during election day. For starters, I see you out there. Yes, I'm going to get to your questions. I did not lose the election. I did not win my election, but really I feel like the people lost by not having a candidate such as myself, but I don't feel like I lost I did what I was supposed to do in terms of running that race. But going back to this particular, in terms of the machine regurgitated Bernard Ellsbury, right? The mayor of Hazel Crest. It did not choose them as the candidate. It did not want them. They wanted what they wanted. But if you ran with the establishment, you won big last week during that particular election. But what's interesting to me, Mr. Decker, I don't know if you got a chance to go to the polls on election day, which if I were you as a candidate running for office, I would have did recon, right? I would have gone, to the different polling places just to kind of get a vibe, right? To get a vibe on what is in store, what to look for, blah, blah, blah. And the reason why I would have done that, because that would have painted a hell of a picture for you. What I saw, okay, Mr. Decker, and if you're just joining, welcome to Tea and Conversation, is that people go to the polls. So we have taught people to go to the polls. So we've taught people, do your civic duty, go in and vote. But Mr. Decker, nobody knew who to vote for, okay? They went to the polls, but when it got down to who to vote for, you could see it, they did not know it. They were so dependent on the slate, the slate card. I wish I had one, but the slate card to tell them who to vote for, that they didn't know who to vote for. So when I stood out there and I was handing out cards, really the election was lost, really the early voting and the day of election, if you didn't have enough body. And I was getting ready to say this before we started pivoting, and Mr. Decker, I definitely want your feedback, but I got to cover this right quick. So what I see, hey, listen, but I appreciate you being here. What I see, right? What I see is, how I'm going to do this. If you're not a part of the establishment, you are considered a misfit. And that's just for a lack of a better term. So when you hear me use the word misfit, I'm using it because you weren't chosen by the machine to run on their slate. So all of the misfits, and that's what I'm going to call myself included, Mr. Decker, all of the misfits that ran for office they were all over the place, right? And because of their inability to organize, I reached out to several candidates. So I reached out, the way I ran this particular race was, I thought that, and I'm no genius, Mr. Decker, and if I am, nobody else thinks so they don't listen to me. But what I thought was organize all of the misfits. And again, I'm using misfits, so you folks out here, we're going to get mad at me because I'm calling you misfits. Get over yourself. I'm really not calling you a misfit. I'm just talking about the ones that weren't running with the establishment, okay? So the ones that were running for office and the ones that were running for office that weren't chosen by the establishment to run needed to be organized. They needed to be organized. They needed to have their own slate of, their own ticket, where, we took the brightest and the best of the misfits, right? And then we do a mailer. Then we have a palm card to hand out, because in front of the polls, most people did not know who to vote for. They just did not know who to vote for. Now, and I'm saying this, and I'd like your feedback on this, Mr. Decker. If you were voting in the Democratic primary, or you're a Republican, let's just throw that, you're a Republican or you're voting in the Democratic Party. If you got the Republican ballot and somebody giving you a ballot and it says Richard Irving on it, do you keep that petition or do you look for another palm card to take in?
I can't speak for everybody else. I know I'm the.
You're a misfit. You're a part of us.
But here's the thing. I usually do my due diligence as soon as those candidates announce and they're going to run. From day one, I usually try to keep my ear open, my eyes open, and see. I don't like people telling me who to vote for, unless they're giving me reasons, unless they're explaining or showing me. Don't tell me, show me.
But Jason, so with how many, God knows how many judges that were on that ballot, and I'm going to push up back on you a little bit, because there were God knows how many judges that were on that ballot. There, the mainstream, the highlighters, the headliners, right? We know who those were. We know the Tom Darts. We know those individuals. But there were so many judges and people running for different offices that even a person like myself, I consider myself to be pretty in the know about candidates to choose from, I even sent out a text that recommended candidates that I thought judges that there were. You something has to kind of guide you in the poll. You got You got God knows how many judges on that thing. You got a whole large slate. It's really easy. And Jason, we're the understanders, right? But if you're not a person that's really immersed in this environment, and how do you keep up?
I mean, sadly, most people need those cards.
They need those cards.
They need those cards.
Them. Yep.
And especially like you said, the judges. I mean, if I understood correctly, judges aren't allowed to really campaign and talk about issues.
Oh, not true.
No, but here's the thing. The only thing that I saw that really caught my eye was a mailer we got, and obviously my wife and I both pulled libertarian tickets in Cook County, so we didn't have any judges on our ticket, but the one mailer I got, their whole big money they spent to send this mailer out to everybody in the area, and basically said that don't elect this judge because their spouse is already a judge. Don't let them both be judges. And my wife and I just kind of got a good laugh at that. Like, that's the best you got. I don't remember what candidate it was. I'm sure some people listening know exactly what I'm talking about.
Jim Gleffy.
But was it against or was it for?
Well, it was against, because if you think about the Barretts, and see, that's what I'm saying. Most people don't know that, but Michael Barrett is a judge. Michael Barrett is a judge. His wife, and you saw her signs all over the place. And that was a very contentious race, very contentious race. So that's why I did the waving of the hand, because in that particular race where judges, and really it's an unofficial oath that they take, that judges should not run, right? You don't badmouth any other judge. That's just decorum that they ask that people to use. But at the end of the day, that particular race was a nasty race. And there were shots fired from both sides in that particular race, and even to the point where that like you saw that piece, I saw a piece where they were attacking the judge, Jim Gleffy. He's not even a judge, but they were attacking his wife, who wasn't even running for office. So even though they say you're not supposed to do it, I think that when it gets down to I gotta separate myself, and this is what layman's misfits. I'm going to talk about the misfits. So again, I want to make sure you know who I'm talking about. So I'm only referring to as misfits because I want you to know the unestablishment people. The unestablishment people don't realize we are waiting. Where'd you go to middle school at, Jason?
Evergreen Park.
So at Evergreen Park in middle school, now I'm going back, so I know that was some decades ago for you. I'm a little younger than you, but you remember you had the little high school fight in. If you cross this line, you better not cross. If you knock this off my shoulder, I'm gonna punch you. That's how we used to get ready for fights, right? And then it was always that one kid. And then
it's go time.
Right. But there was always that one kid that would actually knock it off the shoulder, right? And then what? And then you end up getting beat up because that kid that knocked it off the shoulder commenced to whooping on your butt. Nobody cares. I say that because really, nobody really cares who threw the first punch. Did you win?
Yeah.
Did you win? We sit here.
When you're kids, when you're adults, it's the judge. The judge wants to know who threw the first punch, or the police officers want to know. But yeah, when you're kids on the playground and even then, the judges want to know, and the judge may want to know who threw the first punch. I mean, who started it? But actually, what was the intent? They don't get into that. They want to know that you matched firepower, right? If a person did not have a knife, you shouldn't have a knife. They want to make sure that it's an even fight, right? They don't really care. The reality is, at the end of the day, there are winners and losers, whether we like it or not. And in races like that contentious judge race. And again, we're gonna stay here for a minute. That particular contentious judge race, it was about winners and losers, right? The winners are the ones who, after the election, they still in the race, right? The losers got to take their ball and go home. And what I found right in that particular race is that in this particular primary, that there was the machine was on autopilot. Now I'm running for, I talked to a fellow today in the parade
who worked the polls. Okay, he worked as an election judge, and one of the things that he mentioned, somebody's sending me a message asking me if the fireworks are still on. The fireworks, if you're just joining, the fireworks in Glenwood are still going on. I would advise you to take your mosquito repellent. No, they're not going to cancel the fireworks, unfortunately, because of the Highland Highland Park shooting today. But so they're still doing the fireworks. Take mosquito. It's going to be very muggy and it's going to be very warm. You're probably going to have to sit in your car because I can't see anybody that would get out of their car and sit in the wet grass for the fireworks. But the fireworks, as it stands, are going on in Glenwood, and they will be starting at dusk. But going back to this particular race, nobody cares about who threw the first punch. We can sit here and we can talk about it back and forth, but at the end of the day, who won, who lost? The machine was on autopilot. I don't know what constituent would go into the polls and pick up a ballot that said, and I'm just going to throw out a name, guys. I mean, I know somebody must love them. But if the ballot said, let's say, let me think of a name, Tom Dart, why would anybody take that ballot from anybody? If somebody was pushing a ballot that said, I don't know, maybe Anna Valencia, why would I take that ballot, right? So my thoughts are until, and here's where the misfits fail. The misfits, and I hope you listen to Mr. Decker. The misfits sometimes want to be fair. We're unprepared on polling days. We do not have enough bodies at the election or early voting and during that time. And not only do we not have enough bodies, we don't have the right bodies, people that are, hey, Jason Decker is my friend. I need you to vote for him, blah, 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 because most people don't know who to vote for. They're dependent on somebody standing out in front of the poll house telling them to vote. If you are a misfit, I'm just talking, if you're a misfit, you have to have volunteers or paid people out there pushing your stuff. That's just the facts. If you don't, then the establishment who does have the infrastructure in place, who will have people at each polling place, multiple people will dominate the conversation because you're not there. F them. Listen, excuse the language, guys. And Michelle, welcome to the show. F them signs. I'm talking to you, Mr. Decker. F them signs. You can have some for your own little ego, some for the polling locations. Put those signs out at the polling location. I would better use my money by making certain that I had people at every last precinct to ensure that my card got into every person's hand that walked through that voting location, because that's how you're going to maximize your success with any of these particular elections. Do not believe the hype. Most of the people, when they're on election day, they're going up there, either they know who they're voting for, which is generally the top of the ticket. It's generally the top of the ticket. The governor, it's generally Secretary of State. And even with the Secretary of State, they don't even really know. It's really the governor, right? Because that's what's going to be dominating this conversation. The machines people are going to be pushed. So most people are going to automatically be pushing the machines person. So they're going to automatically take that card because they're going to do a mailer. Are you listening? They're going to do a mailer. And they're going to do a mailer in enough time where that card, people, Michelle, you know, the old heads, we take that, they take that card and they fold it in half. You know how our grandmas do, and they put it over there with their papers, and they put it over there, their papers, and then when they go to the polls, they're gonna have that little mailer, and I'm gonna vote for this one. Baby, she look like a nice person, you know. That's how they're gonna do it, and that's how they're gonna vote. So my advice to anybody that's running, screw those signs out in people's yards. I know that it makes your ego all hard and big and everything, but you do better You do better by using your resources to have people at the polling places. If you're just joining, welcome to Tea and Conversation. You are live with Trustee Adam Winston. We are just shooting the breeze with Mr. Decker and a couple of friends here. Yes, Glenwood is still doing the fireworks. Yes, I was late because I was over in the city rotting out a pipe because a person's drain was back up. So I was late. And then I walked in the parade. So I'm doing it all because that's what I'm doing. But we were just talking about how the machine was on autopilot last week during that particular primaries. And the way you win election is the misfits got to become much more organized. What do you got to say, Jason?
When you first said I'm going to want your input on this, you went on for a little bit. So where would you like me to start?
Listen, you're still in the race. I've been, my ass got, let me tell you something. And again, I'm going to pound this. To be the committeeman in the Bloom Township was, it is a non-paid job. I was looking forward to doing it because I felt that it was something that would put us on the map. It would be something that would, we needed new voices. We needed new energy, and I was willing to do it. It was a non-paying job. It would have taken up a whole lot of my time. So when people say, Adam, well, I'm sorry you lost your race, to me, I ain't lose. The people in this township lost because really we needed a representative. And I hope that the person who won this race acts in that capacity, because that's what we've been missing. But I'm kind of losing hope right now. Right, for the past 4 years, we had a committee person who was absentee. She took no position in this particular race. So there you have it. So I don't have any. I don't feel like I lost. I just feel like I unfortunately did the best what I could do, and that the people are going to feel the blunt of this. And you are still in the race, Mr. Decker. I'm not in it. I've been kicked.
Well, I did make a little history. I am the first ever Bremen Township Libertarian Committee person. So I did run for that. As you said, it is an unpaid position. It is a very, especially libertarian. I mean, it's very
a small group,
non-time consuming, right?
Yes.
And the from my learning, the committee person is supposed to be the beacon of the party for the township, right?
Absolutely.
So no offense to Democrats or the Democratic Party, but I mean that beacon is more of whose blessing to seek when you're running, right?
Right.
Because that's, I mean, you put yourself behind a certain candidate in a primary, and because we live in a very democratically dominated region of Cook County, which is also dominated by Democrats, it is a very powerful position.
It is.
But at the same time, within the party, we've been run by Democrats. We're controlled by Democrats. So yes, that seat that you are running for is a very powerful position with a lot of work in it, in my opinion.
It is.
So will that work be put in?
Well, listen, and so that remains to be seen. But again,
can you do that same work even without holding that title?
And that's what I was getting ready to go to. So thank you for that, because really, I don't need the title. Listen, I've learned from a long time ago that I can lead from behind. I don't need to be the committeeman. And this is what I mean by saying that I didn't lose. I was already doing the work. We can still organize, and we should, right? We should still organize and make sure that we get the word out. But that's going to take a coalition of people like you, like us, that are committed to making our township much more astute. And that's the issue. There should never be a time where people are eeny, meeny, miny, mowing at the polls. And I went to so many places during the election, to different locations to look around, and I looked at the different polling cards, and I'm seeing, what's so mind-boggling, when you have candidates like Kerry Steele, you have candidates like David Moore, you have candidates that you could choose from, and yet the only ticket because the misfits didn't organize like we should have, the only sample ballot that was being handed out in most of these polling places happened to be the one from the actual machine. It's like we want something different. The people want something different, but they're being given. It's kind of like my friend. My friend sometimes she says, "Well, Adam, if I want your opinion, I'll give it to you." That's what's happening when you when they give you this palm card with Anna Valencia, right? With what's this guy Fritz name on it, with Tom Dart, right? Like most of us know that we wouldn't vote for them.
The two most, well, maybe not the most shocking, but the two that stand out to me now that you brought it up is the fact that Fitz won.
That was very shocking. Like, how the hell in the Southland area, and no offense to anybody that's non-African American, but how the hell does he win? Right? How does Kerry lose the Southland area when this area pretty much didn't like the guy, right? And I don't have any axe to grind with him, but they didn't like him. They didn't care for Tom Dart. Who the hell goes into the polls and actually checks box the thing with Tom Dart's name on? I don't even understand it. With the crap that he pulled with just the other candidates, the two women that were running for the office, we should have just left it blank, just to send that message.
Well, Brewster's Millions, vote none of the above.
Yeah, they could have did any of that. So until the voter becomes much more astute, much more aware of the consequences, how they can send a message, even when the deck has been stacked against us, is absolutely absurd. There is, from what I hear, now I don't know if you heard this, and I got some other people on the line. If you just joining, welcome to Tea and Conversation. This is with Trustee Adam Winston, and we're going to talk about the Highland Highland Park shooting right now. From what I understand, the young man, the monster, I guess we're not going to say young man, but the monster who committed this crime has been apprehended. But until we get there, of course, we're going to go right into that or stay here for a minute with this political circus that's what I'm calling it, because the reality is the last election, the primary election, and rather it's gone and done, the machine was busy. And it was, if you weren't a machine establishment candidate, I'm looking at even some of the judges. Chelsea Robinson, she's run several times, and I thought that this was going to be one of the times that she was going to be able to win. Chelsea Robinson did not win that particular election, and she was running against just a bad candidate. He was just bad, right? But but she didn't win. If you were part of the establishment, it was a glorious day for people that were a part of the establishment. And until the misfits organize, until the misfits start putting our resources together, we're going to continue to get garbage. And I said that a different type of way. You're going to have to practice that with me, Jason. Garbage. You got to hit it in the back of your throat. We're going to continue to get garbage because our voters don't know nothing.
Well, if you're within the Democratic Party and you're a misfit, then what does that make me?
Well, you're a misfit. So
I'm like a way out misfit. Like I'm not even in the Democratic Party.
Well, you're an outliner. You're an outliner misfit. You're an outliner and a misfit. So you got a double whammy. You almost got the trifecta, and you're white in a black neighborhood. So you got the trifecta, right? Not that that's anything. Listen, I can poke fun at you. I like all.
I can take it.
And exist. So, but you have to recognize that's so. And I love that, because we do need diversity in thoughts and opinions and ideas and everything. So, don't take me literal when I say this. But you are a minority in this space.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome to my world.
I don't deny that. I never try to hide that either. But
good.
I be me and let the voters decide. We got 127 days to go.
Yes, 127 days.
It's your show, Adam, but I just want to point something out. In that race for the 5th district, right? Kiera Williams, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, had made a post. She said she's backing out. It was too late to withdraw her name off the ballot, but she made a very, very big post about the fact that it's too much time. She can't do it. And she put her name behind Jalen.
And she came in second.
Yeah. I don't know. Wait, was it second? I know she got like 20.
Came in second. She came in second. She got a high voter turnout and didn't even campaign.
She even told people not to vote for her.
So that's how you know that the machine is on autopilot. And until somebody challenges the machine, and the only way that we can challenge the machine is by the misfits. And I don't care if you're libertarian, you're independent. I'm saying the people that aren't running with the establishment have to do a better job at organizing our campaigns. And you only do that by organizing the campaigns. We are all just individuals in silos, and everybody's holding their crumbs close to the vest. And the consequence of that is one ballot being mailed out with the people that they want being circulated, because the party is organized. And until the misfits organize, which is what I've been trying to do, which is what I would like to do, to get more of the candidates that share the values of the majority of us. The candidates that are winning don't really share our values, but yet they keep winning.
I was told months ago, you're never going to win a general. The only way to win is if you run in a primary. I was born and raised Democrat. Up until 2016, 2018, maybe even, I voted mostly Democrat. But I said, no, I said, that. It was almost like trying to run interference maybe, or just trying to push, because there's no way, if, like you said, if you're not part of the establishment, the machine, whatever you want to call it, it's not fair. It's not fair. I know life isn't fair, and that's just the way politics are.
Yeah. But and if you're looking for fairness, it's out.
Some of these candidates, I asked, what are you doing? Why are you telling me to vote for this person? And I'm not going to get into specifics or names, but it's because they're going to kiss the ring, they're going to bow down, they're going to fall in line, and they're going to do what they're told.
Well, here
I am not going to ever do that. That's why I'm proud to be a libertarian, and I can hold my political peers accountable without fear of being blackballed, because I'm already being blackballed.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. And unfortunately, that is how the cookie crumbles. If you are not a part of the machine, it's almost that saying, if you can't beat them, join them. Michelle, welcome to the show. What did you think of last week's primary? Did any of your favorite candidates win?
Only one candidate that I voted for won.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, and what do you think? I mean, what's your feelings?
Well, I was disappointed. Of course, I was disappointed in your race. If I'm honest, I have to say that I did not think that David Moore stood a chance, but I did vote for him. And I felt like Carrie Steele made a good showing, and I just wish that more people, like you said, didn't vote according to the card.
Yeah. So I was talking with a gentleman today, Michelle, and that's so interesting. And this is something that people don't think about either. If you are running for the committee seat, right? If you're running for Vivazzo, Bloom Township, the committee seat is at the bottom of the ballot. So this person who worked as an election judge in Bloom Township shared with me the number of people who just didn't even go to the bottom of the ballot. They just filled out the names that they want. And then he would ask them, he was like, well, do you want to fill out, he couldn't tell them, but do you want to fill out the rest of your ballot? And a lot of them were like, no. So it gets to one of those things. And this is my argument with all of the judges that are on these ballots. Should the judges actually have their own, should the judges have their own election? The ballot becomes so ginormous, right, that it makes it extremely difficult. The voters have a very small attention span. And then you put 12 judges on there, it makes it very difficult for people to keep their attention when you have as many judges. So, one of the things that I'd like to see is maybe judges having their own primary on another day. I don't know if that works. That probably will never happen, because that would be too much like right. But I think that the problem is in these primaries, especially when it's money. Yeah, it's always money. But how much does it cost to get the wrong candidate?
Well, I mean, yeah, we go back and forth on that all day. But I mean, I think we all agree it's a little overcomplicated and too much. But
So the other thing, and this
how
is
desperate were they this for hiring election judges? Because I think the price kept going up every time I saw an ad to hey, work on election day. It was like another $10 or $15 added on. Like they were really struggling to get people.
I was getting ready to go into that, Mr. Decker. So again, I think that voter suppression. I think that all of this is deliberate, and it's to throw voters off. Changing up voter location. In Homewood, some of the voter locations were changed. Too many locations during early primary. Like if you're in, like why, if you can travel from Linwood all the way to Prairie State, why can't you travel from South Chicago Heights to Prairie State? There was too many voter locations, and I think that that's deliberate. Michelle, your hands up.
Yeah, I just want to say something about the election judges. So one of my friends who lives in Matson, she signed up to be an election judge, and they assigned her somewhere on the west side. And she said that the whole day, of course, they have to be there at some ungodly hour in the morning, and they didn't get out until after 9. And all day there were 23 voters.
Too many locations. And that's your dilemma, because all of these communities, and again, goes back to your committee persons. They are so busy trying to keep some of these little polling places open for whatever reason. I wouldn't dare do a Donald Trump on us and say it's rigged. But some of these voter locations, like I see out there in South Chicago Heights, like why not make those people just continue to come over here, just like the rest of the township during early voting, to to Prairie State, where there's the parking, there's a kind of you wouldn't need as many workers, so you wouldn't need as many people manning the polls and so on and so forth. They have entirely, and is it, and I'm begging the question, is it just, are there just too many different polling precincts?
Yes.
And does that encourage more voting, or does it really just make things absolutely worse? Trustee Matz, how say you?
Good evening, everyone. I say that it was an election judge shortage. And who's responsible for election judges being placed? Correct. And there was a shortage. There was people that weren't there in time, wasn't there to open up. That's the committeemen. And all of the committeemen suck lemons. They were so busy running for their seat or running for helping someone else get their seat that the basic function of a committeeman was neglected.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. And you know what? I'm going to go a step further than that, because there was an actual, I'm going to see if I can find it to share this with you, but there was actually the governor came out and really wagged his finger. I don't know if anyone saw this, about the committee people not actually doing their jobs. So that was your current governor. He was talking about committee people are just dropping the ball. I have to say, I used to, before I researched the committee people, I didn't think that seat was all that important. I actually thought it was unnecessary until I started getting a little bit more involved in it. And it's a necessary seat. It's one of those, just like with you, Mr. Decker, if you're the committee person for the Libertarian Party, you have to work it, because if the party isn't growing, then that's the committee person's fault. If your voters don't know where they're supposed to go and vote, then that's the committee person's fault. So you have to get out the vote initiatives and do things to try to grow that voter pool in your area. That's one of the basic functions of a committee person.
Which works perfect when you're running.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, we are very few and far between. I believe there's less than 10 registered there's members of the party within Bremen Township. I'm one of them.
Okay.
So, that's how few and far between we are.
Yeah. So, in any event, Michelle, I have to ask. I'm going to pivot just briefly for a moment. Glenwood did do the parade today, so we drove around in the in the carts, and we waved and threw out candies. and so on and so forth. And I got a lot of feedback from many of the residents here who were saying that we should have canceled the parade because of what happened in Highland Park. Have you had an opportunity to keep up with anything that's happening over in Highland Park?
Yeah, I did see the news. So I know, I know what happened. I didn't find out about it until after the Glenwood parade had already kicked off. So I know it happened at like 10 in the morning, and I'm sure they were reporting it at that time. And although I wasn't preparing for the parade, I wasn't at home. I didn't hear it. So I would imagine that anybody who was preparing for the parade would have already been out and doing whatever it is that they were doing to get prepared. So to have canceled the parade, um, I don't know that would have been necessary. I do understand why some communities did, because especially with the gunmen still being out on the loose and that. But Highland Park and Glenwood are two different worlds. We are worlds apart. Not that those kinds of things can't happen here. I'm not saying that at all. But I mean, they continue to live their lives no matter what we do down here. And I think, it's appropriate in this case for us to let the show go on, especially with details still unraveling.
Yes. So all of the communities. So I'm just going to read off a list, and I want to thank you for sending me this list. Arlington Heights, Buffalo Grove, Deerfield, Evanston, Glenview, Lakeview, Libertyville, Itasca, Mount Prospect, Morton Grove, Northbrook, Skokie, Waukegan, Winnetka, Elk Grove Village, Park Forest, Six Flags, Rolling Meadows, and even the White Sox all canceled their activities, their parades because of this shooting. So a lot of
all of those communities, except for Park Forest, are within 20 minutes radius to Highland Park.
Okay.
So that makes sense with the gunmen still being on the loose.
So you think that they just canceled because the gunman was still on the loose? They didn't cancel.
I can't speak to why they canceled because I don't know. But if their parade, I don't know what they canceled. As well. I don't know what all got canceled. If it was parades that got canceled, if it was fireworks that got canceled, I don't know. So, and of course, I can't speak to why or what got canceled at all. But it would make sense that if there was a maniac on the loose in Matteson, that we would not have a public event here when we know that maniac is targeting public events.
Right. So, but I guess many of the people, and thank you, Michelle, but many of the comments that I've been getting from, 31 people so far, I'm getting it in real time, but 31 people injured, at least 9 people, I believe have been killed because of this particular shooting. And parades are everywhere. These are low-hanging fruit. So when you say communities like Glenwood, communities like Highland Park, I guess I would be thinking that'll never happen in a Highland Park, right? Because Highland Park seems like a decent little community where those type of things don't happen. So I don't know. Is it one of those things?
Immune, Adam. No place is immune. Mm-hmm. No place is immune. But what I thought I was trying to be clear in saying that the parade was happening. People were preparing when these shots were fired. People were lining up and getting their cars and everything together. The train had already left the station. Right. Could you have stopped it and said, no, we're not going to do this because, something's going on over there and we don't even know the details? No, that's not going to happen. It kind of almost doesn't even make sense for it to happen. In a community right next door, yes, it absolutely makes sense. Because just like the Highland Park police parade dispersed, any other parade really, really close to there should have been dispersing as well.
Right. Mr. Decker, where were you? I see you moving around a little bit. What were you thinking? What were you thinking?
Moving around, I was just getting comfy on the couch here.
Okay.
No, I was going to say, I saw one of the officials from Park Forest say that they were canceling theirs due to weather and concerns. So I think maybe it was a combination, but as I've seen many people comment, it was deemed an isolated incident. So yes, within an earshot or within a radius of a gunman on the loose, absolutely. But ultimately, if everything gets shut down, that's kind of sad. It's a fine line, I guess, because we do want to celebrate, we do want to not live in fear, but we also want to live safe. We also want to be safe and think about the fact that my kids, like me and my wife and my kids, went to parades this weekend.
Right. But I guess my concern would be, copycats or any individual who would look at this particular type of this type of event and look at it as an opportunity to kind of, just be just a hellraiser, right? So,
and can you imagine if it happened on Friday or Saturday when other towns were having their events? How many people would have had their events yesterday or today?
And that's the thing, and it's just I don't know. I don't. If I was making a decision, the parade earlier to me was, we were kind of, because I was learning about the event as it was going on, and I don't know if I wouldn't have canceled, right? I don't know if I wouldn't have canceled.
It's sad because normally in a situation like that, you ask, well, is there a threat to us? Is there a known threat to us? And, nowadays it's almost as if like you always have to answer that yes, because there's always a threat. There's always somebody who's under-medicated, over-medicated, had a bad day, and they can bring harm on crowds of people. I mean, look, it's like every other day we're seeing groups of people get shot. They say it's more than one mass shooting a day this year so far. I believe it's the number.
So the other concern that, and I want to thank the people that are giving me, little comments. During this time where it should have been canceled because you can't tell fireworks from gunshots, right? And with all of that going on, as opposed to risking it, it should have been canceled. So I totally understand. I think I completely agree. I think that even we didn't cancel the fireworks, even with the rain. Glenwood is like, hey, we doing fireworks, like, no, we ain't celebrating no Juneteenth, Happy Independence Day, fireworks, parade. We doing it all here in the village of Glenwood, and we're not canceling full speed ahead. And I don't know how that's going to be perceived when I'm getting the feedback. I'm getting the feedback from live people that were saying that maybe we should have canceled these particular events and they should not be going on because of what has happened. So, I mean, none of us, no community, in my opinion, is immune to it any longer. I think that with all of the craziness that's going on, these things are becoming so, there was a shooting right here on 394 and Glenwood Dyer Road last night, and they shut down the road, and we didn't even get an update or a tip line alert that even let us know. So I asked some questions about the particular shooting, and because it wasn't in Glenwood, even though it was at the border, it was like if you took 2 steps over, you would have been in Glenwood. It was just not any public notice made about that particular event, even though it was a shooting right at our border, but it was not Glenwood, even though it was 10 feet from the line that says welcome to Glenwood. So do you think that that's in part because people are, they don't want the community to feel like there's a threat? Trustee Matz, go ahead.
Just think about it. How many police officers do you have in Glenwood? How many employed police officers?
About 24.
24. Okay. So, and what if all the residents came out, for the festivities, for the parade, for the fireworks? What's their disaster plan? 24. So if you have 200, 300 people come out to enjoy the festivities, 24 police officers cannot control that crowd. Yeah. What's the disaster plan? Did they ever present a plan for anything catastrophic that might happen. Right now, we're in volatile times where you have to put stuff like that in place. You have to think about your exit. I was at the Matson Festival Friday night, and so many people were jammed on top of each other that I sat where I can easily escape. You have to start thinking about when you enter a room, how many exits? When you enter an area, which way are you going to run? Right? So right now, I think all those communities shut down, just like Michelle said, because they were in close proximity. But we don't have disaster plans out here. I guarantee you, did you ever ask Trustee Winston, your chief, what's the disaster plan for the parade? Because when you have fireworks going on, you can't tell the fireworks from a gunshot.
Yeah.
Right. And so now you have all these people scattering. Where are they going to scatter to? Which way are they going to run? What's the disaster plan? I bet you guys didn't put one in place because we never thought about having a disaster plan.
Yeah. And that is a very genuine concern. And I would think that more communities would start looking at and considering those particular concerns, because you no doubt have to. We no longer are in an environment where if these things are going to happen, we're living during the times that when they happen, are we prepared? Are we able to handle the situation and respond, make sure we get our residents safe and so on and so forth? And I don't know if we are. I don't know if we have the ability to be able to address those particular concerns. Michelle?
And let me just add to that, just real quick. St. Francis, Olympia Fields, St. Francis Hospital, St. James, they had a renovation done a couple of years now. I think it's been about 4 years now, about almost $50 million renovating the place. How many beds you think are over there at that hospital? Just take a guess.
300.
A little under 600 beds. So in Olympia Fields alone, there's 5,000 residents. And so if something catastrophic happened where we all need to go to that hospital, we might as well stay at home because it's 25,000 residents in Madison.
And it's not a level 1 trauma.
Yeah, it's not. And it's not. So we have to start thinking proactively for all of the festivities. We don't want to be handicapped. We don't want to freeze up because of fear. We want to live freely, but we have to be smart about it. We have to know what is our next move, right? And so I just don't think that we're putting that into the forefront of our brains. What's our next move and how we're going to handle it?
Yeah, I agree. How are you guys? And Jason, this can talk right to your platform. I mean, are you willing to work with many of these communities to help them come up with some disaster relief plans if you're able to get where you need to be at?
I mean, yeah, she made a great point. I mean, even after these last 3 or 4, 5, 6, however far you want to go back, as we escalate towards what I consider it getting worse and more common, there needs to be more. I know Midlothian has specific plans in place depending on the situation, but I don't think any town has a set in stone, on paper, documented disaster plan for a mass shooting at a parade. Now they will, and they'll have to formulate that. And I'm sure next year, everybody's parade is going to have some sort of contingency plan or and sadly that just feeds into the fear, like hearing when my kids are in school and they're going through like mass shooter drills. We never had to do that in school, and to think that they have to prepare and know that that's the world we live in, that they might have to prepare themselves for somebody shooting at the school, and that's crazy. What's real quick before I stop talking, somebody made a very, very powerful comment on Facebook that it kind of just sticks with me, is that you see these video clips from everybody at the parade in Highland Park, and somebody said, don't they know any better? You're just supposed to lay down. You're not supposed to run. You're just supposed to lay flat on the ground. and it was from somebody out here in the Southland that sadly we're accustomed to, or we know that, like it's sad that we have to know that when there's a mass shooting and bullets are flying, you don't run, you don't stay upright, you lay down on the ground. And that's the difference. That's a huge difference. And it's gonna stay with me for a while. So.
Well, and I see now, I just got my Facebook feed has been updated. Thornton did they also canceled their parade because of out of respect, according to their words, out of respect for the victims in the Highland Park shooting. We are canceling their parade. So they canceled their parades too. So, I think that it's one of those split hair decisions that communities make. The parade today that Glenwood had was one of the larger parades. There was a lot going on, so I know it was a lot of people that were in attendance of that parade. And again, I didn't even know about the shooting until I was actually in the golf cart, driving the golf cart, and then someone kind of shared with me the details of what actually happened. So. I don't even know what time this shooting occurred. Does anybody know what time the shooting actually took place?
I think it was 10:30 this morning or something like that.
Oh, so 10:30 this morning. Okay, so I guess that would have been so at 10:30 this morning. The shooting took place. Our parade was at 1:00. So I didn't hear. I don't. And then some of us don't even get the news. Like I didn't. And I'm not making any excuses. I did not know the shooting actually had taken place till almost 1:15. And that was in the middle of a parade. So I was behind. I was definitely behind. Yes, Glenwood is still. Yes, Glenwood. So if you're just joining, you're watching the show, Glenwood is still doing the fireworks. So if you are planning on going there, this would be the time. I would advise you to take the mosquito repellent, because it is going to be a muggy, sticky, wet grass, mosquito eating session. So if you got that good blood like you, Mr. Decker, you will be eaten up alive tonight with those mosquitoes, but enjoy those fireworks, okay? Trustee Matt, do you have, I know that you were working on President Steele's campaign. How is she doing? Do you have any feedback, or do you know how she's doing after this election? What was her thoughts?
Do not. As you know, people need time to decompress.
Yeah.
This was a hard-fought race. She was not slated, but we still slayed the dragon. She won every Black precinct in the city. So it shows that the machine is discombobulated. Although the machine wanted their guy, she still took him out, in the city. It was out here in the Southland that we did not fare well. Mm-hmm. And we are the hardest hit when it comes to property taxes. And we're suffering the most out here when it comes to property taxes. And for her not to be victorious out here after everyone knows that the job is not being done well is a travesty.
Yeah. Well, I was definitely rooting for President Steele. And actually, when I was standing out in front of many of these polling places, when I recognized that there was just not enough visibility in terms of her running, when there was no cards, I had a palm card that I was actually passing out, and I would make certain that, hey, look at that palm card. Look at this palm card. This one has President Steele on it. This one has David Moore on it. And those people that I at least thought, I know Michelle mentioned that she didn't think that that David Moore stood a shot. And looking at his numbers, looking at my numbers, look, I can't even talk about anybody. I was an LVG, and I call people LVGs because an LVG, you know what that is, Mr. Decker, right? Don't be an LVG, okay, in any election. Don't be LVG is a low vote getter, okay? and I was an LVG this particular election. And I was hoping that Mr. Moore would not be an LVG as well. I was hoping that out of all of the candidates running, this was nothing against Anna. This was nothing against Valencia. Alexi. I just thought that David Moore was not a part of the establishment and was the best option. We don't just want somebody to come in that particular seat and that's just going to use it as a platform to.
He's the only one I ever heard of, and I mean, I had the pleasure of meeting him twice. Once at a church, in
David
Roseville.
Moore was on our show here.
Well, yeah, okay, but I'm saying in person.
Okay.
Because I mean, people can come on a show and look all nice and talk all nice, but when you shake somebody's hand and you have that, in-person moment, like I thought he seemed like good people. I would have voted for him.
Yeah.
Same with Carrie Steele, though. I've met her a few times.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's a great person, and I think the things that I look for in an elected official, like being able to just have an average conversation with the person. Don't feed me boilerplate answers or tell me things like we're working on it or I'll have to get back to you. If I pulled a Democratic ticket, I would have definitely voted for Carrie Steele.
And President Steele numbers were excellent. It came out to 53 fifths, 46 President Steele. So he has nothing to gloat about. He cannot come out pounding his chest because she was hot on his heels.
Hearing him speak and hearing him just like, he was at the debates with me over at the library at 99th and Halstead, or 95th and Halstead. What was that, 2 months ago, 6 weeks ago? And him being asked questions by the audience, he kept repeating himself, and he just, he might do a good job, he might do a decent job, but as far as like being able to communicate and convey information, and I thought he fumbled and got eaten alive. I thought he wouldn't stand a chance against Carrie Steele.
He was never a very good speaker. Michelle, go ahead. You're live. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to question you in your, I guess, I don't think you're surprised, but in your act of surprise that David Moore didn't show as well when he was running against two more well-known people. And you said it yourself 1,000 times. People don't know who to vote for. And they're going to vote for the people whose names they recognized. And that's just the way it goes. So I don't know why you're surprised.
Because David Moore, contrary to popular belief, he isn't unknown, right? I know that he isn't, and I don't even know how Anna Valencia got such high. And maybe Trustee Matz can explain this, because I don't know how Anna Valencia became just like the superwoman. I know how Alexi did it because he ran kind of with Obama and so on and so forth. And then he was with the banks that failed or whatever. So I know he has some history. Anna Valencia, I didn't see her being any more credible than David Moore in terms of this. And so for me, I thought that David Moore, even though I knew he struggled with the finances, and he struggled with raising money, so on and so forth, I still thought that David Moore would have done a little bit more, and I thought more people would have come out because he did. Listen, the man worked his tail off. He may not have made or circled the wagons as much as some of the other persons, because he was like, in many cases, a lot of times, a one-man show. I used to see him out there in front of the Metro train station and so on and so forth. So he was doing what he could. I just think that if he had a few more resources to do a couple of more commercials, then maybe he would have had a much better turnout.
But you just hit the nail on the head. You're talking about resources. When you are out there, especially as a Black candidate, we have no resources. When you look at President Steele's run, she had 1.5 million. Fritz gave himself $4 million. He loaned his campaign fund $4 million. You have to look at that. And we have to do a better job with helping our residents, helping
I
our
agree.
constituents,
Didn't I say that, Jason?
dig a little deeper, because, you have to think about why this is a minuscule position. We talking tax assessor. It's almost like an accountant, right? It's nothing sexy or glamorous about it, other than it affect our lives. You have to look at, where did he come from? He doesn't have a servant heart. He hasn't even as much as fed the homeless before he became our assessor. So why would a man that's a millionaire want this job so bad that he put in his own money, because he ran on, I don't get money, I don't take money from anybody. He financed it himself, $4 million, but you gave yourself a loan. So who's giving you that money back? If you don't take money from anybody, but you put in there, it's a loan to my campaign, how are you getting that money back? Somebody's going to give it to you back. But the most important thing is, he's not a servant of the people. You always lead up to this, right? And so no one's really asking that question. But I believe that if President Steele had more money to be on the airways, because as we were out, campaigning and everything, the one thing people remember when she was on there is, I'm not going to be about it. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to be about it. Everybody always came up to her. And if she had more time on the airways to get her message out, I think that more people would have seen exactly the difference between the two of them and continue to migrate towards her, because we're hurting out here. And if we don't stop the machine, stop the people who just want a title and who wants a stepping stone, because we're just going to continue to perish out here, really.
I totally agree. And that was my frustration. And really, we just don't, the voter, and I know I'm going to take a beat down. I couldn't even use the word carpetbagger in my space. People thought it was a bad word, like I made it up. Like a carpetbagger is in Webster Dictionary. I didn't make the term up. I wasn't bad mouthing anybody. I was just calling the action what it's actually referred to, and that is carpetbagging. Because if you move into a community with the sole intent to run for office, you're a carpetbagger. That doesn't make you, it's not a bad word. It's just what it's called. But I think that the voters have got to become much more, it cannot be mechanical, and we cannot afford to be mechanical when going to the polls, where we just kind of, check, danger, Real Robinson, danger, stranger, danger. We can't do that, right? And again, I am not making this up. If I took a unofficial poll about the voter, most of them did not know who to vote for. Yep. They did not. They were completely dependent on whoever was standing out. It could have been Pookie from New Jack City, giving them a card, and they were taking it and like, oh, these are the people. Oh, he's a wonderful person. Oh, she's a wonderful. It was that simple. This is the reason why I say that until the misfits organize, right, where they don't need $1 million to run for office, because now this is a card full of the misfits. This is who they are. They're running for office. Now they're doing a commercial to try to get more voters engaged, that there are candidates that look like them. There are candidates that are approachable. Until more of us start working together. And I'm only using the term misfits because I want to separate the machine candidates from the outsiders, Jason and myself and Carrie and so on and so forth.
We need to make misfits popular again.
There it is. Weirdos have to be popular, right? We have to start, because we're doing the work. We are doing the work.
We're not disorganized.
Well,
we just don't have that ComEd money.
So in fairness, though, we are unorganized, because you're right, we don't have the money. But I have reached out. I only can speak for myself. I've continued to reach out to candidates that are running for office about, okay, let's work together. Let's do this. Everybody is so, it's like taking 20 people and giving them each $20 and tell them that they have to live off that $20 for the month. Everybody would take their $20 and they'd go to the store, buy a jar of peanut butter and and some crackers, and then they'd live happily ever after. Until we start recognize the value of putting those $20 together. We got 40. Now the 10 people got $2,000. Now we can live off of a budget of food for the month. We got to stop individualizing our efforts when it comes to running for some of these seats. That's just my thoughts. We cannot afford to I'm just going to worry about my campaign. No, we have to organize and work together just like the machine.
Yep.
That's my thoughts.
And
that's the only way we fix it.
And real quick, because I got about 3% left on my phone here, but real quick, as far as campaign finances and candidates that are worthy of some support, that would be me. And if anybody that's listening would like to donate $20, $25, $50, I can really use it. I'm out here pounding the pavement. I need literature and yard signs. That's it. I'm not trying to get $500 out of you. I'm not trying to get $1,000 out of you. $50, $100. Keep my literature flowing and my yard signs going, and I'll do the rest.
Mr. Decker, what is your website?
I don't have a website.
Well, how do people reach you?
They call me on my cell phone, 708-913-8300.
What's that cell phone again?
708-913-8300. Okay. And then I do have a Facebook page. I'm sure if you're on Facebook, you've seen my posts. Okay. But I just didn't see it. I didn't see it. Oh, I lost it.
You lost it? Well, that was Mr. Jason Decker. He is also a candidate. He's running for the 5th district. He will be the only other candidate, as far as I can tell, that will be running against Monica Gordon, who now has won that seat as well. So I good luck to him. He has got a lot of work cut out for him if he's even going to be able to pull this off. Any last words there, Michelle, before we cut out of here?
Nope, I got nothing else.
Trustee Matz, any last words?
Yeah. Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth. And that's what listen, I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb. We have got to start talking about Juneteenth. And I think that that's something that cannot be only celebrations about Independence Day. I'm speaking from an African-American lens, through an African-American lens. Juneteenth is something that until we start putting a little bit more emphasis on that day and make certain that that day is recognized, then it's just going to kind of fall off. I was out there in the parade wishing people a happy Juneteenth, and the number of people that were looking at me like, oh yeah, happy Juneteenth. And the other people that were looking at me like, whatever, it's Independence Day. No, whatever to you. It is Juneteenth. It's some folks' independence. It was on Juneteenth. And we need to celebrate that. And we need to be organized and collective and together to make certain that that day gets a recognition like it should. So I agree, Trustee Matz. We have got to do better in that regard. This week, we also have the flat tax. If you haven't had an opportunity to see the flat tax, please join us. We are live on Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Zoom. That is the flat property tax, so that we can learn ways to get those taxes down. There's also a board meeting tomorrow. There is a board meeting tomorrow in the village of Glenwood. I may not be in attendance. I probably should not be putting that out there, but I probably will not be in attendance because it's the last day for the baseball team that I coach. So hopefully they can hold down or man the fort while I'm not there. Or maybe we'll get rain and I won't have to go, and then I can attend the meeting. But until next week, I'd like to wish us all a happy Juneteenth and Independence Day for those who are celebrating Independence Day. And I will see you next Monday. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.